Welcome to Coffee Break with Rachel Vigil, taking a daily look at the biggest stories in Denver sports and interacting live with you, the Coffee Break fam. So sit back, relax, grab a cup of joe, and enjoy your coffee break. Here's your host, Rachel Vigil.
One of the biggest storylines in the NBA today coming out that Jontay Porter is going to be banned for the NBA for life after being involved in some sports gambling. Essentially, just to kind of give you a full wrap up on everything that goes into this, is Jontay Porter was talking to sports gamblers and essentially got caught because he missed a game and they had bet that he wasn't going to be out there and all sorts of stuff. There's a ton we can dive into, including his net earnings, which is truly pathetic. So we'll get into that. But are we too far down the line with sports betting now to have it removed from college or professional sports or anything of that nature? So I'm excited to bring in our very own Will Petersen. He always provides a nice perspective when it comes to this. But Will, are we too far down the line?
Yeah, it's a good question, Rachel, because all the DraftKings and FanDuel and the advertisements are everywhere, right? So the leagues are in bed with these gambling companies because they're getting paid quite handsomely to promote their products and have fans wager on the games. The problem is, as you see today, Jontay Porter gets the Pete Rose treatment. He is banned. Remember in the NFL, the Broncos had a Wazirike get caught gambling. He only got a year. Adam Silver didn't mess around with a year punishment on this. Jontay Porter is out of the league. And like you mentioned in your intro, he was tipping off professional bettors, bet my unders because I'm going to play and then I'm going to be sick. And they got caught because, of course, the regulators flagged it when you're betting $80,000 to win $1.1 million on Jontay Porter. Come on, he's the 10th best player on the Raptors. No one throws that kind of money around unless they have inside information.
And to be honest, I just kind of laugh when I look at the numbers. So these bets ranged in size from $22,000 to a total of like $54,000. Total payout for these bets was $76,000, resulting in net winnings of $21,000. $21,000 he walked away with. And it's like, for what? For you to lose your career in the NBA? That's not worth. That's $1 million contracts right there. None of it makes sense to me.
Yeah, he was making $400,000 this year from the Raptors as a two-way player. And he, you're right. If he could have just flashed and made their 15-man roster next year, he could have made $2 million. And he's thrown it away over $21,000. I mean, it's ultimately sad because, like a lot of things, gambling can be an addiction. And clearly he couldn't get this under control. Yeah. He wanted to keep gambling, and he was gambling on other sports that weren't the NBA. But that release that the NBA sent out today also does mention he gambled on 13 NBA games, including the Raptors to lose in a game that he was not playing in. That just gets, again, into dicey territory. What did he know? Who did he know? Did he know they were going to lose that night? Did he know injuries? It's too much inside info, and I don't blame Adam Silver on this, but it is it's kind of trying to put the toothpaste back in the tube, right? Like they are so connected to the gambling leagues and the gambling sites that, Jontay Porter will get made an example out of, but who's the next guy who's going to think he's even smarter and not get caught? It's certainly not the last time we've heard about this.
And that's the main point right there is you just got to be smart. How many of these guys make it to the professional league? Not many. How many of the players that don't make it would do anything to get to that point? You just got to be smart. You can't bet on it. Wait till you're done being a part of the game and move on, and then you can do it. It's all about being smart. I don't blame Adam Silver one bit. I actually think that it's great that he's saying, no, we are not going to have this affect the game and make a really big stand against it. So I actually kind of applaud Adam Silver in this situation. Well,
yeah, I don't think he really had a choice, right? Because when you are directly saying, because the rules state, Rachel, if you go into a game, your unders are now valid. And he bet. He told this guy to bet his under points, his under rebounds, and his under assists. And then 3 minutes in, his stomach hurts because he's ill. What does that mean, Rachel? That the bet cashed, right? It's a winner. It's a hit. But what these geniuses didn't realize is they have regulators. And someone who bets $80,000 on Jontay Porter props is going to get flagged as suspicious, especially when he says, I'm just going to go in there, get sick after 3 minutes, and no one's going to notice. It's like, dude, how much more obvious can you be that you're trying to win a professional bet or $1.1 million, which, again, became null and void because the sports books have the right not to pay that out. I mean, I'm not trying to pile on him because, like I said, there's clearly an addiction element to this. There's clearly just an element of stupidity to this, if we're being honest. But at some point, if you're going to act like this, then there's just not a lot going on upstairs because you're not really thinking this through.
There's a human element to it for sure, but it also just impacts overall the entire game. Like, there's times, Will, where I look at a player and I do feel incredibly bad for him because it might just be, something that is out of their control to a certain extent. But there's also times where, like you said, this is just stupidity. And the fact that you thought you could get away with this, it'd be different if it was like a $5,000 bet or, a $1,000 bet. Because, who the heck is Jontay Porter? If I'm going to be completely honest with you, I didn't even know Michael Porter Jr. had a brother who was playing in the league. I knew that he was possibly in the G League, but I didn't know that he had gotten called up. And that'll tell you enough that you need to know about that. I pay attention to a lot of what's going on in the NBA. Obviously, my main priority is the Denver Nuggets and trying to deep dive into that. But I didn't know that Jontay Porter had been called up essentially. So you can't go be placing a massive bet on somebody whose name isn't, a Nikola Jokic or somebody of that nature. They're of course going to catch that.
Yeah, I don't think the sports books blink their eyes if they get $1,000 bet on LeBron James props. They get those all the time. He's LeBron James. But when you get $80,000 on Jontay Porter, you're like, what in the world? And then he leaves 3 minutes in because he's sick, and the bet just happens to win. Yeah. We're not really putting on a masterclass in IQ, and it stinks that Jontay Porter is banned. And you're right, he's Michael Porter Jr.'s brother, and just from a strictly basketball standpoint, where's MPJ's headspace right now? They've got a huge series against the Lakers coming up that'll start on Saturday, and his brother just got kicked out of the NBA. I don't know if he'll talk today at Nuggets practice or not, but there's definitely questions to be asked of just his mental side of things. Remember, he had another brother involved in a really sad, tragic accident while playing for the DU basketball team that someone lost their life, and he's going to pay the prices for that from a legal standpoint. So, Michael Porter Jr. seems like he's got a good head on his shoulders, but at some point you can only take so much before it affects your basketball game. It's been a really hard couple of years for the Porter family.
No, 100% agreed. And I'm going to be heading out here in just a few minutes, actually, to Nuggets practice. But MPJ didn't do the press conference after the initial release that they were investigating Jontay Porter. So I doubt that he'll talk today. But that does play into it. And if you're a Denver Nuggets fan, of course, MPJ's been hot and on fire. And this has been his best year that we've seen since his back surgery. So I'm 100% concerned to the point of, I hope it either can motivate him to go out there and say, you know what, I get to go out there and play the game that I love to play, and I'm so lucky I get to do that. And less of the, wow, there's a lot going in my family right now, and I just need to kind of separate that. There can always be two sides of it, and you kind of hope it's the other side.
Yeah, it can go one of two ways. You're right. It can either mentally affect him and drain him, or he can use it as fuel and motivation and, go out there and, like you said, just kind of use it as a spark of, hey, I'm the one still playing this game. Yep. My one brother's banned, and my other brother is probably looking at some time behind bars. So yeah, it's a blessing for Michael Porter Jr. Let's put it that way, that he is still playing in the NBA and pursuing back-to-back championships.
Exactly. Okay. Well, so let's talk a little bit about the Lakers series. First of all, did you think it was a little weird that Zion left the game with the injury, and then there's videos and pictures coming out that he looked totally fine leaving the arena? Is that just me?
I'm not going to put on my tinfoil hat for that. That he was playing too well. The Pelicans were too into it. They wanted to win that game. I
thought they were going to.
I did too. I think it's a bigger statement on just the tortured history of Zion Williamson and the Pelicans, right? The guy is always hurt. It's finally clicking. He's scoring 40 points. They're having this massive comeback. The Smoothie King Center is going nuts. They're going to play the Nuggets. They're going to beat the Lakers. And then Zion goes to the locker room, and they can't get a stop the rest of the way. And LeBron shoots an air ball, and Anthony Davis gets a questionable foul call to get the 2 free throws. And I think it was just more of Zion is cursed than any sort of conspiracy, Rachel. Even if he got a stinger, he just got a stinger at the exact wrong time. True. It cost him 30 minutes to work it out, and those 30 minutes came and went. The ball game was over.
I don't want to put you on the spot to ask you this question, but it's always one. And I had a lot of people who are actually texting me about it last night. Is Zion Williamson a bust?
No. He had 40, 11, and 5 in a play-in game last night.
That his team ultimately lost.
Because he got hurt. Because he had to leave the game. Rachel, anyone who scores 40 points in a playoff game against LeBron James is not a bust. Come on now.
I would say that in his prime, but let's be honest. LeBron James is getting a lot older. We got to be real on that front.
It's still a one-and-done game. There's still a ton on the line. Like, has he not lived up to expectations? Perhaps, but he's not Greg Oden. He's not Nicholas Skeetis-Veely. I mean, he's still putting up 40 points in a playoff game, and he actually played like 70-something games this year. He was the healthiest he's been his whole career this year. Yeah. He led them in scoring, 23 points a game, I believe. Yep. And they haven't made the playoffs in a long time. So we're getting a little too liberal with our use of the word bust if Zion's a bust. You can say he's underachieved, but you don't average 23 points a game over a 70-game season and be a bust.
I agree to that, but if he can't get him there, the playoffs, like true playoffs, second round in the next year or so, I think you have to start looking at that question just a little bit more, because he was highly talked about. We can all remember when he was coming out of the draft, all the hype around him. Okay, but back to the Lakers now. We can move on from Zion. Lakers, game 1, Saturday night. I feel like we are just doing like the tinfoil hat stuff today. I'm a full believer in sports karma, Will. So I think that the Lakers, they're not going to win the series, but I do think that they're able to pull one game. There's going to be a chip on Anthony Davis, LeBron James' shoulder for all of the talk that happened in the postseason. But ultimately, I feel like the Nuggets are going to just walk away with this one and look to round 2.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the Nuggets have beaten them 8 times in a row, right? Yep. So at some point, the Lakers just have to prove to the NBA world and prove to themselves that they can even beat these guys once, because think about all the circus shots the Nuggets have made, all the backbreaking comebacks the Nuggets have had. I mean, every single time they play, it seems like it's the same story. It's really competitive for 3.5 quarters. Mm-hmm. And then the Nuggets just do what the Nuggets do, and they pull away and they bury them. And the Lakers have this shell-shocked look on their face. So until LA gets one, I'm with you. I'm not going to pick a sweep. I think my pick is Nuggets in 5 as well. But there's a mental thing to this too, right? There is a mental block, because physically they have the size to match up with the Nuggets. They certainly have 2 Hall of Famers on their team. They've got some role players with Reeves and Russell and Hachimura, the Jokic stopper or whatever, which obviously is a joke. But I'm just saying that, like, on paper, the Lakers are a pretty darn good basketball team. Yep. But, man, if the Nuggets get up 2-0 and then, Rachel, game 3, it's tied with 6 minutes to go, you know the Lakers are going to be thinking, here we go again. We just can't ever beat these guys.
For sure. I'm actually really looking forward to the series. I was rooting for the Pelicans just to have something be a little different, but you can never complain when you got LeBron James to be in the headlines as well, and it'll be just a massive game with all the past history that comes with it. I do want to switch over to the Colorado Avalanche, though, because we have our Papa Murphy's question of the day. Right now, Will, the Avs are actually the favorites to beat the Winnipeg Jets. Offensively, they've got the Jets beat. Defensively, the Jets have the Avs beat. And with this, I will say, defense wins championships. How are you feeling about this series?
Yeah, that line doesn't make sense to me. They were 0-3 against the Jets this year.
I know.
They got outscored 17-4.
I know.
So, like, at some point, do the odds makers just know something we don't? Or do the odds makers know that a lot of fans are going to put money on Nathan McKinnon and Cale Makar and Mikko Rantanen and maybe not, or maybe ignore what has become obvious to those of us who pay attention? The Jets are the better team than the Colorado Avalanche right now. They certainly have the better goaltender in Connor Hellebuck. He's one of the top 5 goalies in the NHL. Yep. Alexander Georgiev couldn't stop a beach ball right now, giving up 4 to Winnipeg on Saturday, getting pulled in the first period. Then he goes to Vegas. He's up 3-0, but he gives up 4 in the third period in overtime to lose 4-3. Rachel, in a 26-hour stretch, he gave up 4 goals in 1 period, essentially, twice. So, yeah, I mean, the Jets have the much better goaltender. They have absolutely owned the Avalanche this year. They secured home ice advantage last night by beating the Kraken. This is the first time in 5 years the Avs will start the playoffs on the road. They have to go to Winnipeg for game 1 and 2. That has not been the norm for Cale Makar and Nathan McKinnon and Mikko Rantanen. They're used to playing at Ball Arena to start. Yeah, I don't get it at all. I mean, I'm sure we'll do predictions as the series gets closer, but right now I am leaning Jets in 6. That is how I'm feeling about round 1.
Okay, so I've been on the fence between 5 and 6, so I'm also rolling with the Jets, and it is fascinating. Now, I will say The line for all the different books is very different, but I'm looking at The Athletic right now, and they do have it 51% chance that the Avs walk away victorious, 49% chance. So it's going to be a pretty closely contested series for sure. But the major difference here is I look down, like I mentioned, the Avs have the offensive rating. It's plus 41, but the Jets have a plus 30 defensive rating. Like, this is going to be such an interesting matchup. And essentially, it's going to come down to Cale Makar, Devon Toews. They have to be able to protect Georgiev, because if they can do that and they can help him out a little bit, I do believe the firepower, hopefully, I know they only had 4 goals against the Jets, but hopefully the Nathan McKinnon, the Mikko Rantanen, the Val Nichushkin can be able to put some in the back of the net. They're going to just, a lot of things have to go right for them in this series, I feel.
Yeah, but we've talked about it. Winning games 6-4 in the playoffs isn't sustainable, right? Like,
agreed.
You're just too exhausted. Winning the cup when you have to win games 6-4 in round 1. We know what a grind the playoffs are. You and I covered the 2022 team all the way through to a championship, and then we covered the series against Seattle last year that just felt like a slog. And then I go to the Inverness Hotel for preseason media availability back in August. Yeah. And what does Nathan McKinnon say? We knew we weren't winning the cup. We knew we didn't have the team to win the cup. And the jaws in the room, the media members kind of, whoa, can't believe Nathan McKinnon just admitted that. But unfortunately, as we sit here on April 17th, if he felt that way before the Kraken series, how does he feel before the Jets series? I don't know. He may feel like they can't win the cup, because I don't know how this team's going to win 16 games trying to win games by scoring 5-6 goals a night. That's just too much to ask.
It's crazy because we talk about they still have Nathan McKinnon. They still have Cale Makar, Mikko Rantanen, Val Nichushkin. I know he wasn't there for the Kraken series. But was Kadri and Gabe Landeskog actually, the big asterisks for that team, and that's why they were able to do it? Or what is this team missing that they didn't have when they won the cup? Because the biggest names that we talk about are still on the team.
What were Kadri and Landeskog? Leaders. Right?
Yeah,
that's what I think they're missing, is leadership. Nazem Kadri did not take any flack from anyone. He stood right up to those jerks in St. Louis and got a hat trick and, just motivated the team. I think he broke his wrist with Evander Kane, and what's he do? He comes back in Game 4 against the Lightning and scores the OT winner to go up 3-1 in the Stanley Cup final. He was a leader. Gabe, the captain, obviously a leader. I'm not saying Nathan, Cale, and Mikko aren't leaders, but maybe they have to force being leaders, whereas it was much more natural to Kadri and Gabe. Yeah, I think they're missing their leadership in a massive way.
Oh, man. And there was just a report that came out about Gabriel Landeskog that he's not close to returning, which I didn't think so. And I didn't think it was going to be the right move for his career. Yes, would they, of course, love to have him back. All of Go Avs Go fam would love to have him back out there, but we've seen the skating videos, and you and I have talked about it a bunch. It just didn't make sense. Like, playoff hockey is such a different speed, and the way we were seeing him move around, he was nowhere close.
Yeah, the ramp up just hasn't been there, right? Because the videos to me that we see today look like the same videos we saw in January and February. Yeah. Like, and that's not Gabe's fault. I mean, no hockey players ever come back from this. No one's saying it's Gabe's fault, but we have eyes, we have working brains. We needed to see, oh my gosh, look how much better he's skating for any of us to really feel like he had a chance. And it still just feels like he's out there just testing it out, trying to put some weight on it. There's a huge difference between testing it out, putting some weight on it, and being able to play in an NHL playoff game.
For sure. Will Petersen, thanks for putting your tinfoil hat on with me. Today we got plenty of good conversations, so I do appreciate it.
Yeah, I kind of brought you back down to earth a little bit too, though. That's what I'm here for.
Will Petersen, let's be honest. When you talk as much sports as we talk, there's always storylines that take your brains in multiple ways that you're always like, oh, that's a little interesting right there.
No doubt about it. Have a good day, Rachel.
Thank you. All right. Will Petersen right there. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to our channel. You can enter in to come hang out with us. This is before May 10th. Come hang out with us, chill, have lunch. Thanks to Brothers Barbecue. You can sit in with the Drive, Philip Lindsay. I almost said Phil and Lindsay. Philip Lindsay and Zach By. And like I said, come hang out with all of the Denver sports crew like Will Petersen. So plenty of good stuff. Subscribe to us over there on YouTube if you're watching us. And you guys, I hope you have a wonderful day. Fascinating stuff with the Jontay Porter. I'm headed out to Nuggets. The craziness begins, everybody. So buckle up, and we'll see you guys later. Get back to work. Bye, everybody.